Hi, Dion from eFlotion Support Services here, and welcome to this INFJ chat. And I've done a chat on finding yourself and probably doing the yin to the yang of that, the obverse of losing yourself. And losing yourself can be in the form of like an identity loss, like who am I? Like confusion, bewilderment, a disillusionment, a disconnection from oneself that leads us wondering, like, where am I? I feel like I've lost something, and a part of a recovery journey is what are we actually recovering? Are we recovering, you know, what we had before, or is what we had before what led to the losing of oneself? Or is it a recovering of who we actually are? And that becomes a process of finding yourself. And there's the saying of, like, wherever you go, there you are, sort of thing. Or home is where the heart is, which is like I think, a chat or a tapping on that. And it's like when I moved to a rental, and I've had many homes. Like I'm originally from New Zealand, and I've been transitioning many different homes, sort of thing. So I've not had one official place where my heart is kept, sort of thing. It's been coming along with me on the journey, sort of thing, through life. And when we lose ourselves, it can be many things that lead to it, and it's like no one situation is going to have the same result for a different person. And what I mean by that is, like, you may have had a certain set of conditions growing up, or in work environments, or in relationships or friendships, whatever it is, where there's been sort of an adaptation or a maladaptation of behavioral patterns of like how to fit in, but in fitting in, it's almost like cutting off parts of who we actually were. It's like say for example, like if you want to fit in with a group, but they're teasing a person that I don't know, like overweight or something like that, and it's like you actually feel for this person, but to order to fit into a group situation, to a little community, you find yourself joining in on the teasing, and then because you're accepted by that group, that becomes a new sort of behavioral sense, even though that's not who you were growing up or your actual value system. And sometimes what we're actually losing is our values, how we value ourselves, and what value we put in others. And there's many people that like to devalue people's sense of self-worth as well, and corrupt that self-worth, almost hack into their biosystem and steal all of their emotional data, sort of thing, their sense of who they are, what makes them, so they can then take that on as part of their personality. And there's also sometimes when we lose ourselves, we go on a journey to find ourselves. And like I've spoken about, where like you can travel the world, sort of thing, and take on new experiences, and these new experiences may give you a different perception of the world or of yourself, which may help actually heal or change oneself. And sometimes that's the case, and not everything is a clear cut. Sometimes when we are wanting to find ourselves and we go on a journey, whether it's on a holiday, going overseas to see new lands, road trip, whatever it is, sort of thing, to actually find ourselves, it can feel like we're actually doing a purpose, where we're purposely trying to find something that is actually coming along with us on the journey. Wherever we go, there we are, sort of thing. It's like we're coming along. And there's a part to look at it from a different perspective, is it actually going on this pilgrimage to find some sort of peace or yourself, or is it a form of escapism? Is it a form of trying to get away from all the pressures of life? But once again, that it's like with baggage, that you pack your bags and it's that emotional baggage that you're traveling with. So no matter how far you go, sometimes it's not the destination. Well, sometimes it's not the journey, it's the destination. And that destination is always traveling with you. It's always there. It's those parts that we don't want to address, or those parts of real emotional hurt that just need that loving acceptance. But it's almost like in some secret part of the world that's going to be there, sort of thing. And I'm not saying that won't happen. Nothing's impossible. But once again, the acceptance of oneself, and also the understanding that sometimes going away for something, like, for an example, like my ex-wife was like a big one on going on holidays all the time. It's like we need to like escape our lives every now and again to go on holidays. And a holiday, it's good to go on a holiday, I'm not saying that, but it was more about all the stresses of work or the life and that, and it was like an escapism, which, if there's an escapism, it's kind of like with addiction, sort of thing. It's like it's a like the to take the drugs or whatever it is, or to work excessively at work, or gamble, whatever. It's that self-soothing ability. Like, this one more hit will bring me that comfort. That one more will bring me that acceptance, where I no longer have to feel the pain and the day-to-day of life. I can escape it for a limited time only. And same with going on a big journey to discover oneself. I guess it's kind of like with disassociation, for example. Like I used to disassociate. That's what actually got me misdiagnosed with epilepsy. But it's when there is like a lot of either physical or emotional trauma, and because you can't physically escape, your brain just goes into another little room, sort of thing. It disassociates from the body. It escapes that experience. Like mammals and all that will do that. Like if a lion's like attacking a zebra, sort of thing, it will disassociate from its body, so it doesn't have to feel the pain that's currently happening to it. And in a less dramatic way, sometimes, where we don't want to deal with the internal hurt, we disassociate or go away from our life situation for a while. It's like on a holiday to somewhere, or to find a guru to say it's all okay. And that it's like, and it wasn't right, what happened, sort of thing. All these sorts of words that we need to hear that probably weren't said to us, or the obverse was said to us, which slowly had that disconnection, or we started to shape ourselves or misshape ourselves to conform into a society, a job role, a relationship, whatever it is, sort of thing. And but there's always that internal part where it's like, this doesn't feel like me. And it's also not getting into that worst case scenario where that amount of emotional repression, where you're just feeling heavy or internally frustrated all the time, or furious or angry, or depressed because it's like you can't do life because you're doing it for others all the time. These sorts of things start to become weighing you down in life, which is actually causing physical issues, the emotional on-flow onto the physical. And the more that we try and rationalize that we're here for others, rather than for ourselves, and not in a selfish sense, just for our own well-being, we start to lose those parts of ourselves. We start to lose even our well-being. We start to slip into dis-ease because we're not at ease with ourselves or our lives. And sometimes we need those temporary little breaks to get away and recharge, and then return to the drudgery of what we are, or what we're experiencing in our lives. And it depends on what you want in your life. And once again, to know what you want in your life is to know yourself, which becomes the journey of finding yourself. You don't have to have a mental breakdown. You don't have to have some physical thing happen to you to be on a recovery journey, because we might be forming that persona, that mask, to put on a happy face, sort of thing. It's like that song, grey skies are coming, put on a happy face, and that, which is a put on. It's a bit of a joke in a way. It's not us. We're putting on a persona, a mask. A persona, that was what they used to call masks back in the days of I think it was opera or something like that, because it would personify through a voice and you'd speak through a mask. But it was not the identity of the person. They had to put on another identity to play the role of what they're doing in life, play the role of a doctor, play the role of I don't know, a baker, or I've actually not used baker before, play the role of a potterer. I've used potterer, but play these different roles. But it can also, too much play, you get tired, you get worn out, and you kind of just want to return to yourself every now and again. You get worn out conforming all the time, to the point where you can become deformed to these other identities that we need to role play to fit in. And that fitting in is a community so we can feel safe, we can feel accepted. But what we're feeling, that accepting, is very always minimal to rejecting. This is a very fine line, because if you don't play the role well enough, or if you drop the mask a little bit, then you're exposed for who you truly are, and you start to get you get cancelled, sort of the cancel culture, which it's kind of funny, because it's like we like to think that we're so advanced from our ancient culture, even though it's the culture that we came from. But cancel culture is basically excommunication in a different package. So excommunication, it's not a religious thing, it's like community communication, it's being excluded from the community, which back in the day, if you did the wrong thing, you'd be excluded from the community and you'd have to go fend for yourself. So it's basically cancel culture nowadays. It's like I won't get into that, but when we, in some regards, people that go on a spiritual journey, that's exactly what they'll do. They'll exclude themselves from the community because they're tired of conforming. They're tired of the rat race, in a way. It's like they need to go off into the woods and find themselves. I realize I'm in the woods. There's no correlation there. It's just what I'm saying. But they need to get away from all the chattering of like blah blah blah, or gossiping, or this and that and the next thing, and they need to go be with themselves. And similar to with going on a journey to find yourself, if you're road tripping, if you're traveling across the seas, if you're on a pilgrimage and all that, you're there along the way all the time. And I guess it's like with that disassociation, when are we going to start to reconnect to our body to actually find ourselves? Because we're here all the time. It's just we need to start listening. It's like that introverted intuition, for example. Just saying as an example, introvert to look inwards, I think it is, and intuition being the intuition, like the what we've learned through life and from the teachers that we've learned that from, and to go inwards and to start to deal with that emotional baggage, start to unpack that baggage, or start to let go of that baggage, so we don't have to be burdened by the weight that we're carrying of other people's stuff sometimes. And also knowing that having loving acceptance for ourselves, that we allowed ourselves to carry that baggage, because it's all well and good to blame others, but it's also knowing that we play a part in that. And as soon as we start blaming others, then we become that person that was doing that to us. So it's a difficult journey, but it's also one that starts to live to your authentic self. And your authentic self is just someone that lives to their own values, that doesn't devalue themselves, there's never going to be a perfect situation where you're not going to feel any pain in life. And pain is necessary. Even your body keeps your blood alkalinity a little bit off, and that, so it can actually have something to work with, sort of thing. It needs that resistance to work with. Even your arteries, like the pumping, is there's a resistance in there. It needs that tension. But too much tension creates constriction in the body, creates dis-ease, and we don't want to be living our lives in situations or with people that are corrupting our self-worth or devaluing our self-worth or weighing us down and creating more baggage than necessary. So that losing of oneself, once there is an awareness or just an inkling of, hey, this is not right to me, and that right is just going to be a feeling. If anything, it's not going to be someone coming along and going, I write you a script of this is not right, sort of thing. It's like, this doesn't feel good to me. It feels like I'm betraying myself. And that's when we can start turning that betrayal, once we have that awareness, into acceptance and compassion for ourselves. And there is a lot of, and that's basically where it goes into a grief cycle, all the sadness, the anger, all those sorts of things. That this doesn't happen on a nice linear scale. It just comes and goes, and just when you think you're over it, it's back. But having that awareness starts to guide your ship. You start to get a compass of, no, this is what I value in life, and this is how I'm going to direct myself in life. This is how I'm going to conduct myself through life. This is how I'm going to create harmony within myself and balance within myself. And every time I start to get out of balance, because you can't live within balance all the time, sometimes you need conflict to actually know yourself a bit better. It's like going to the gym. I haven't used the gym metaphor for a while. It's like going to the gym. It's like you need to feel a bit of pain, as far as from not like pain where you're actually destroying yourself, but pain from the lifting weights to actually get the gain, sort of thing. Or as my martial art teacher would say, first you've got to taste the bitter to get to the sweet. You've got to put in that work to actually get the result, which is the recovery journey. And it's like, I'm fully aware that when I say it's like world peace is simple, that if everyone just turns inward and starts to address their issues, then people become less reactive and more compassionate, sort of thing. We're not cancelling or excommunicating people. We're actually more compassionate of one another. But the other thing is that when you become compassionate, it also doesn't mean that you don't become a doormat. So it's also having the boundaries as well. It's like, well, you're a compassionate person. Well, you said this to me, and it's like, oh, you did that. You're not a compassionate. It's like, once again, it's like, is that person actually taking from you, sort of thing? It's like once again, a robber doesn't like to be questioned if they're in the act of stealing, sort of thing. It's like they just want to do their thing and get out of there, sort of thing. It's like they don't want to be confronted. So there's compassion, and there's also not back to a survival sense, being able to say no to things, and all these things that you learn along the way of finding yourself after being so lost in life. And yeah, so I think I'll end it there, unless I've got any other final thoughts. I guess it's when we do stop running, or we do stop escaping, and when we do, when all those emotions catch up to us, and that is having the right supports, or just being gentle with yourself, and not having those voices that happen to you yell at you in your brain and curse you and blame you even more, because that's not how we love ourselves. That's not how we take care of ourselves. That's not how we nurture ourselves. That was just probably some very bad teaching that happened along the way. So once that all that unfairness rises up, just knowing that those emotions aren't you, it's just what happened to you, and being gentle with yourself, taking the care and the rest that you need to actually allow those emotions to pass, and getting the appropriate care. I'd highly recommend trauma-informed care to actually start to release that from your body. I've been medicated most of my life and it'll just suppress it, so that's why I say trauma-informed care. Start to release it, start to get some emotional freedom and get back into the flow of life again. So yeah, that's my little chat. And from my experiences, from what I've gathered in from just my journey in that, I can't say that I've completely found myself. It's like I know I'm more on the track than what I was following other people's misdirections in life, but it's a fun journey along the way. Even the painful parts I learn from and make me stronger. So yeah, come what may, but home is where the heart is, and there is the Latin root of the word of the heart, which is core, which means courage. So having the courage, and courage doesn't have to be big, strong, fighting sort of thing. It's just the courage to, and the bravery to know that you're the light, to go into the shadows and to come out the other side. And even though the shadows might try to overwhelm so many times, holding on to that goodness that is within you and letting that grow slowly and surely. Don't try and blow up that flame too quickly. Allow it to glow. And what you'll probably find is obstacles that you're bumping into become clearly seen as, or a clear awareness of those things that once again happen to you but are not you, and how you can set sail to brighter horizons. So yeah, I'm down from Evolution. That was my little chat, and I'll catch you in the next video. More videos to come. I'll keep you updated. So I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.